this assignment was to learn how to create a mesh manually. I'll go ahead and run it first to show you. So the part on the left is already there. It's just getting an object moving in Unity. But here, there will be a cube that generates via a script I wrote, which I'll cover in just a second. But I'll get this running first just so you all can see it on the right. So this cube here has a mesh like that's manually created. Like there's no like this mesh render is here, but the actual triangles are created by my script. And it's important to keep in mind that all of these triangles have indices, and then those indices are put in a array, and that's how that information is stored. And then I'll go ahead and go to that script real quick. It's just manual mesh render script. Let's go to edit script, and I'll briefly just go over what we have or what I have here. So it's just one class. I have a mesh render, and a mesh filter, all declared. Oh, you know what? Yeah, yeah. Hold on. Let me fix that. I must have, yeah, I must have hit the amount of times I've hit like to show like a program instead of my screen. Let me um show my. Actually, let me stop streaming. Not restream. Yeah, screen, not application. That's right. Okay. Can you see my uh code now? Okay. So like I was saying, I have a mesh variable and a mesh render variable declared up here. And then in the start function, I have a array of vector threes, uh, which is created down here, and I'll get to that in just a second. And then I have an indices array, which is just like the indices of the triangle. And then, or sorry, not the indices, but the actual points where the triangle is going to show up, like in 3D space, like relative to the like the actual like object, right? So, and then here, I can create the mesh, just like by calling the mesh constructor, and then I assign the vertices to that mesh, and then I also have I set the indices, and then basically I'm setting it to be like triangles, like so it knows that I'm creating an object with triangle shaped geometry. And then one of the things we covered in class is, and this was new for me, is that you can actually technically create an object without using triangles. Like you could use a square or a rectangle or a collection of squares and rectangles. But the thing about triangles is they always retain the property as a triangle under like compression or like stretching, if that makes sense. Because if you have a square and say like you like one side of it gets distorted, it's no longer a square. And therefore if you try to like apply like square properties to it, it's not going to work properly because you're not really dealing with a square geometrically anymore. And the same thing with like a rectangle, really most other shapes. So that's why triangles are commonly used. Then basically down here, I am setting the vertexes of each triangle. And then for this cube that I had in the scene, I used two triangles for each face of the cube. So there's six vector threes declaring each point on the triangle. So uh, if you can visualize this in your head, so we have 0, 0, 0 here for the first vector. So that just means it starts at like right at the origin. And then now I have 1, 0, 0. So that means uh, the first triangle vertex is at the origin, and now this one is one unit over to the right. And then now this third vector 3 is one up from that one to the right, and that forms a triangle. So that's one triangle done. And then I just had another triangle here go back down the other way. So like actually I can like comment this out. Actually, I won't do that. I don't want to mess up what I have down here. And then this is just creating a array of indices to keep track of which like what vectors go where and what order. So, for instance, some of these actually count backwards because these meshes only render on one side, and I didn't want to render the back of certain meshes because if they're on like the inside of the cube, no one's gonna see that, and that's wasted computation. So in some cases here, when I'm rendering like the quote unquote back, I'm rendering the back of the uh, rectangle that is on the back of this cube, which I can reload again just for you to see. Um, and I'll turn off mesh rotate too, so that doesn't the rotation doesn't get in the way. So like what I mean essentially is that this like if I go inside the cube, like I can't see anything, right? Because none of it's actually rendered. You can still see its shadow. But if I pop out the back here, then now we can see the back because only this like side of that cube is set to render. And then same thing over here. Like really I just have a triangle that goes like this, if you can follow my cursor, and then another triangle that goes like that. That's basically every side of this cube. But for this class, it's a really basic example. But really, when you get really down to it with computer graphics and animation, uh, it gets highly, highly complex, and that's how we end up with beautiful 3D graphics in like modern video games, modern animated movies and TV shows, and any sort of entertainment medium that requires some sort of like digital rendering to be done. And I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really important to know why and how they're able to make this happen. And I really, really think it's exciting to see how it's going to improve in the upcoming years. But yeah, that's really all I had to cover. I just wanted to quickly detail what a mesh is, what a mesh renderer is, like the component in Unity that actually renders the mesh in 3D space or 2D space. And then I just wanted to quickly cover this VS Code script that somewhat details like how each of those triangles are being rendered. Although for, like I said, this is very basic. It only has 12 triangles, whereas you could be getting into like millions of polygons with certain rendered objects for in certain instances. But yeah, that's what I had to cover. Does anyone have any questions? And if not, that's okay too. I know it's kind of a small group tonight. Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully it was, helped you understand it a little bit better. Like I know, like I didn't detail like all of these. Like some of these are negative, right? Because I had to rotate the triangle to get the sides. It's like this is the right side of that cube, so I can still start at the origin, but now I have it go backwards 1 unit in the Z direction, so it's back one. But then since it's already back one, it just goes up one. So when you look at the cube, it's just going the actual um, origin I know it says here, but the actual origin of the mesh is like a little like down here-ish, I'm pretty sure, because this is like a rotation point right there. Because this mesh rotate, if I actually had to like define a specific point for it to rotate around. Because when I created the mesh, it ended up being in the bottom, like right corner of the cube. So like here, I actually had to create this new rotate point. Wait, should fix that. And but that's not a big deal. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So it's like here for that right one, and then it's going to here to like 1, -1, or sorry, yeah, and then up here to the y, or up here to the y, and then yeah, a triangle that way, and then we go back to the code. There'll be another triangle that will start here, go here, and then back down. So it's kind of like each face again has like two triangles, and And then if you look at like the top, like everything has is elevated by 1 unit up because it's the top. And then um, for the Y, right? Because they're flat on the top, so that's why those are there. And then a lot of times for the bottom was actually just making sure they're flat on the bottom, but they're still at the same spot in the Y, so they all have zeros there. So there's no like vertical standing triangles. And then again, like here, they're counting backwards because I'm uh rendering the back. Because really, if you render the whole like both sides of a triangle, you have to specify that. And like if I wanted to like specify both for front, I would need to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or like 0, 1, 2, and then 2, 1, 0, if that makes sense. And then like that's like per like these are two groups of triangles, so like each one of these is a triangle. So I'm gonna try this just real quick. If it doesn't work, that's fine. I'll figure out later and then get back to you. That should hoping that'll render one extra triangle in this scene. I might have to restart it though. I'll like try to go inside the cube like I did last time. And then like I said, this other person it was just like an introductory thing. It's like, hey, like make a 3D object that rotates. So he also has a rotation script. So oh, oops, my bad. I meant to pause it, not end it. But if I could go back to scene, see if it worked. See, so now I have one extra rectangle or triangle here that's rendered on both sides. And it looks like it rotated a bit. So, oh, and actually, yeah, I think the front's on this side technically. Sorry about that. Like when I actually went and made the scene, I didn't like it was like already done. Like I don't want to like modify the positions of the triangles. I'm just gonna like move the camera. So, okay, that's why when I go in here, it's actually. Oh, wait, no, no, never mind. It already rotated. So yeah, like that's why you can see that triangle on both. So if I really wanted to, I can like go in and like make a second row for each one, and then here say like 5, 4, 3. Sorry. And then like now that whole triangle would show up. And I can do that real quick too. Sorry. I kind of figured this would be a like a cool quick thing to show just just to make the point of what is actually making it happen. So I didn't want to write that whole script from scratch during this just because that might have been kind of lengthy to actually like detail every single one. But now again, yeah, here's the full one rendered. And even though like I'm inside like my scene view is inside the cube, but I can't see any other part besides the part that I actually explicitly rendered. And then I assigned it a material in here too. I think I mentioned I had a material, but yeah, down here I gave it a material. So I didn't give it a material, it would render in, but since it's got no like the triangles have no like values to render, it's just not gonna show anything. So, but yeah. But any other questions? Well, all right. Again, thanks y'all for listening. And Rain, I'm excited to see what you have. That's not mine too. Oh, yeah, I can see your screen. Yep. Okay. Yeah, yeah, I have like, yeah, yeah, of course.
Green bean.
Yeah, I was just gonna quickly send a picture of a more advanced mesh topology in the meeting chat real quick. But other oh, it's not that. Where'd it go? Could yeah, I'll just drag and drop it in here. Okay, so it's in the meeting chat now. It's just like a head. And if you zoom in, like those are all triangles, right? So yeah, I agree. It's honestly kind of like it's really fascinating how that works. And then it's like the human eye though, it doesn't look anything like that. And then they actually have like depth with it too, like the ear and then the nose. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had. I just wanted to go ahead and send that in the chat. Yeah, of course.